What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one, and we are finally back in the world of Westeros. I am excited. House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 1, review and recap. We're going to go over the episode, and then I'm going to tell you the differences between the episode and the book story, and then I'm going to give you my take on this episode. First, I'll explain the prologue that they started with. Prologue to this episode is the Great Council of 101 AC, which was convened by the old King Jaehaerys I Targaryen after the death of his son Aegon Targaryen, so that the Lords of the Seven Kingdoms could settle on who should succeed him on the Iron Throne. Now, Jaehaerys' heir was Prince Aemon, and he died in 92 AC, and instead of picking his daughter and having it go down that line, he took his other son, Prince Balon, and made him the heir to the throne. By doing this, it passes over Prince Aemon's daughter, Rhaenys, and that's why she gets the name the Queen Who Never Was. The council then rules in favor of Viserys Targaryen, who is Balon's oldest son, and that's where the story kicks off. What up to my thugs, nerds, freaks, and geeks? You're now rocking with the best of Don Tony Teflon. If you can, please subscribe, click that bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new video. As always, 500 is the like goal. If this video hits 500 likes, I'll give a subscriber who leaves a comment on this video 1 month of HBO Max for free so you can watch this great show on me. Let's get this done. The episode starts off with Princess Rhaenyra riding her dragon over top of King's Landing, and then we see her land her dragon, and she goes and meets her best friend of this story, Alicent Hightower, who is waiting in an exquisite carriage, and we see the carriage take off through King's Landing, and to me, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the best shot scene of King's Landing that we have ever gotten in any of these series so far. They did an amazing job bringing this city to life more than Game of Thrones, in my opinion. She then goes sees the queen, who has a bun in the oven, and this bun is just about done. As we can see, it is about to pop. We then switch over to court, where we see Corlys Velaryon talking about the Triarch and its leader, Crab Feeder, messing up all of the trade routes. The princess does come in, and we see that she is the cupbearer for her father, the king. He sniffs her and says, "Huh, you must have been riding on a dragon," which is a detail that I like. Yes, if you mess around with turtles or any type of lizards, you know they have a distinct smell. So anyone riding on dragonback, you know they're gonna have that smell on them. And you can imagine how Daenerys Targaryen smelled, because she didn't even have a saddle. So Corlys is mad at the small council meeting because they won't do anything about the Triarch and they're messing up his trade routes. Corlys, then you could see he will not take a drink. So these two scenes I just talked about go back to Game of Thrones. One, when Arya was the cupbearer for Tywin Lannister, and Tyrion was always trying to drink at the meetings, but Tywin would not allow him to drink. In fact, he told Arya, "Don't give them wine, give them water, we're going to be here." And it just shows you that Corlys takes this very seriously. He wants to have all of his senses about him. After that, we see them talk about the tournament that is planned for the birth of what the king believes is going to be his son. The princess goes into the throne's room, and when she's there, we see Daemon sitting on the Iron Throne, and we see them speak Valyrian to each other, which I think is a great touch. We didn't see a lot of that in Game of Thrones, a back and forth the Valyrian language, so I love the fact that they did that. But then Daemon tells her to turn around, and he gives her a gift, and what this gift is a necklace made of Valyrian steel. Valyrian steel is the steel that was produced in Valyria and is priceless, and people have no idea how to make it anymore. They talk about her father, which is Daemon's brother, having a son, and Daemon says something kind of rude, saying if he does have a son, that says the son will be cursed. After that, we go to a nice little picnic scene, Alicent and Rhaenyra, and she is reading the histories, or trying to teach Rhaenyra the histories of the Seven Kingdoms. But Rhaenyra doesn't want to really hear about it this time. She's like, I'd rather just go with you on Dragonback and fly around the world eating cake. And then Alicent gets upset, but then Rhaenyra recites history that she learned, showing that she does retain what she's teaching her, but she's just not interested in it at the moment. The history they're talking about at this time is Nymeria. Yes, that's also the name of Arya Dire Wolf, and it was named after Princess Nymeria Martell, and they're also in development of a show about that woman. So them bringing her up in the first episode could be viewed as a backdoor pilot. We then see the king having his back looked at by the maesters, and they don't exactly know what this cut is. They say that it came from the Iron Throne. Now, if the Iron Throne cuts you, it means that your time on the Iron Throne will not be long. So make sure you remember this scene. It is also says that the wound will not heal for some reason. They've done a lot of treatment to it, and this wound will not heal. Otto Hightower, who is the hand of the king, tells the maces specifically that this cannot get leaked. This must be a secret. We then see the king and his wife while she's taking a bath, and I like the way they had the princess name the baby that if it was a girl, she wanted to name it Visenya. The king says that he definitely knows he's going to have a boy because he had a dream, a prophecy where his son was born and it was wearing Aegon's iron crown. So these are two callbacks to way before this time. Aegon is Aegon the Conqueror, who is the Targaryen who took over Westeros, and Visenya is one of his sister wives. Yes, it was his sister that he married. He married both his sisters, and this is the name of one of them. The next scene we are shown is the creation of the gold cloaks. We see them beating their shields, and Daemon Targaryen comes out and he gives them a speech. Calls them a pack of hounds. They start howling, and then this is when they first go out there in their gold cloaks and start chasing people down. You see them cutting off hands of people who stole stuff. We seen a rapist get his junk cut off, and then we see somebody beheaded by Daemon himself, showing that these guys are just ruthless and they actually enjoy inflicting this pain. Now, this is another callback to Game of Thrones, Joffrey and his bodyguard, the Hound, who was just a mad, savage dog at this particular time when he was with Joffrey and would do anything that Joffrey commanded, just like these gold cloaks are doing for Daemon. Now, even though Daemon is the brother of the king, you just can't go around doing anything you want, and this is what Otto Hightower does when he complains to the king about Daemon's actions, that he is just going out there basically being the executioner, the judge, the jury, everything all wrapped up in one. Now, during this small council meeting, we see that he's not just talking behind Daemon's back because he's present. We also see Corlys Velaryon again defend Daemon Targaryen, noting that they are friends and he's got his back. Otto then brings up Daemon's wife, saying, listen, you need to be better to your wife, and then Daemon's just like, oh, calls her a bronze bitch. He calls her that because she's a member of House Royce, and their coat of arms is black studs on the bronze field bordered with ruins. They're an old family from the Vale of Arryn. After this, we see Daemon just go off after they're telling him he needs to be faithful to his wife. He's got to bring up Otto's wife, who just happened to pass away recently. This makes Otto upset. He gets vexed. He stands up, and then the king commands him to sit down. Now, right after they tell Daemon that he needs to be good to his wife, the next scene we see is Daemon in a brothel having sex with my Syria. We then jump to the tournament that was planned for the king's new child being born. After this, he gives a speech and he says that his queen is in labor as they speak, and then the joust begins. The first joust that we see is a Baratheon, and we see the Baratheon is defeated by someone from House Tarly. House Tarly is the house that Sam is from, if you remember Game of Thrones, Sam Tarly. Now, after that, the member of House Tarly goes over and he asks for a favor from the queen who never was, which is Corlys Valerian's wife. After that, we see a mystery knight come in there and he beats 2 Baratheons back to back. Daemon then comes and he picks his opponent, and he picks Dwayne Hightower, who is the oldest son of the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower, which Daemon wants revenge for Otto talking shit about him in the small council, and he gets it by going low on his son, causing Dwayne to go head first over the horse and lands face first on the ground, fucking himself up. We see Otto whisper something to the king, very important, because he just jumps up out of his seat and then leaves. We then see his wife in a bed of blood. The maesters tell him, your wife is going to have a breech birth, and there's only one thing that can happen. You're either going to be able to save the baby, or we're going to be able to save your wife, and you're going to have to make this decision. The king then makes the hard choice to sacrifice his wife's life in order for his son to be born. And the queen has no idea that this is going on, and they grab her and hold her down, and it is a painful scene to watch as she just screams, asking him for his help, and he allows this to go down. We go back to the tournament and we see the mystery knight, who is Criston Cole, then have to fight Daemon Targaryen. When they do the joust, Daemon gets hit by Cole and his body is just dragged on top of the rail, and then he jumps off his horse, and that's when the melee part of this battle starts to begin. It's a jump scene back and forth between the king and queen giving birth and dying, and Daemon fighting Criston Cole. I thought that they put that together very well. The queen dies from blood loss. Daemon gets the upper hand on Criston Cole, but then he starts to cheer and play to the crowd, which allows Criston Cole to get the drop on him, and then he forces Daemon to yield. This is a callback to Oberyn Martell when he fought the Mountain. He had the Mountain beat, but then all of a sudden he got cocky. He started looking at his wife in the crowd, and the Mountain swept his leg and then crushed in his skull. We then see Rhaenyra and Alicent go to the edge, and they can't believe that Criston Cole is Dornish. He asks for the favor, and then she gives it to him. After that, we switch and we see the king's son get pulled out, and he names him Baelor. Another callback to Game of Thrones is the Sept. The Sept is called the Great Sept of Baelor. This is the place that Cersei Lannister used to blow up everyone who was against her. After Otto tells Corlys what happens, he leaves, and immediately we then switch to the funeral of the queen. She's on a pyre, and we see that the princess has to say the word Dracarys, which tells her dragon to light the pyre, which must be the tradition of old Valyria, that you get lit by dragon fire. And Daemon's prophecy seems to be true, that this son was cursed. He does not survive, and the wife does not survive. At the council meeting, we see Otto talk about the succession. And this is when we hear Corlys Velaryon say he has an heir. His heir is Daemon Targaryen. Now, we can see that Otto does have a grudge against Daemon, but it's his own actions that gives Otto the ammo to make the case against him. Because he acted a fool in control of the gold cloaks, he can bring up, hey, this guy is not fit for the Iron Throne. He might be another Maegor the Cruel. And that's the back and forth that goes on between him and Corlys, just as the king is like, listen, my wife, my son, they just passed away. I can't deal with this right now. And he storms off. After that, we see Otto Hightower up to his scheming as he sends his daughter into the king's chamber to comfort the king, right? Just go read to this man. And that's exactly what she does. Straight plan by Otto Hightower. We see it going down. Alicent, being as savvy as she can, she goes in there and makes common ground with the king because her mother passed away, and she talks to him, and they show a beautiful, beautiful like sculpture of King's Landing in this scene. After that, we see Daemon, after they said how bad of a king he would be, what's he doing? He's having an orgy with his ladies. And while he's there and he has this orgy, we see that Otto Hightower has spies everywhere, because at the next small council meeting, he brings up the fact that Daemon called the king's son the heir for a day, which just pisses the king off. Daemon is then dragged in front of the king, and this is when we see the king truly acting like a king. He threatens, like, I will have your tongue chopped out of your mouth right now. How dare you say this about my son who passed away? All I've ever done is sit back and protect you, and this is the thanks that you give me. Daemon then shoots right back at him like, listen, I'm your brother, and you never even asked me to be hand of the king. Otto Hightower is nothing more than a snake, and he would never do anything to protect you. And it's Daemon's big mouth that gets the king to decide to name his daughter Rhaenyra the new heir, and that she will be the queen of Westeros. He then demands that Daemon goes back to Runestone, goes back to his wife, and has to basically stay there. After that, we see the king's hand again bleed on the Iron Throne. I told you, when you bleed on the Iron Throne, when it cuts you, it means the throne has spurned you and you will not be king for long. We then see the king in the room with the biggest dragon skull of them all, Balerion the Black Dread, the dragon of Aegon the Conqueror. And he brings his daughter down there and he tells her that he is going to name her his heir. And he says straight up, it's an illusion that we control the dragons and they can destroy us just like they destroyed old Valyria. We see Alicent help the princess get dressed, and we see all the lords bend the knee and swear to protect her claim to the Iron Throne, which she would be the first woman who ever sat the Iron Throne if this were to come true. We then see Daemon with the lady that he met in the prostitute house, Lady Misery, and he has her touch his dragon. The king then gives a secret. He tells his daughter that this has been passed down from king to king, ruler to ruler since Aegon the Conqueror, saying that Aegon did not just take Westeros because he felt it was land right to conquer, but he had a dream, and in this dream he seen the White Walkers. Didn't call them the White Walkers, but that's who he's talking about. A cold coming from the north, and that the whole realm will have to be united in order to defeat this threat. That is the first episode. I must say, what a beautiful first episode. I have to rank this first episode. You know, I'm not going to give it a 10 because we don't want to go the best of all time. So we're going to give this first episode a solid 8. All right, so that there's room to grow. It does everything a first episode is supposed to do. Introduce you to the world. Introduce you to the major characters and why their intentions are what they are. I think it does that beautifully, and I can't wait to get to the next one. Later on this week, I'm going to drop more videos talking about specific things they talked about in this episode to give you the history of that. Also, remember, every week, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, myself, Bridge 4, Fill the Issues guy, we do a pre-game show right on my channel, and I will be having surprise people show up. So make sure you're subscribed, you have that bell clicked so you can be notified every time we go live. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and of course, subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.